This video is about script arguments. By script arguments, I'm referring to the arguments that the user enters after entering the name of the script when running the script. Before I get into the details of that, I want to cover special parameters. Remember in the video about functions, the functions had arguments also, and those arguments were referenced within the function definition using special parameters. The same thing is true for scripts. So scripts and functions are similar in that they have argument lists. When you call a function, you use its name and then you list its arguments. When you call a script, you specify the script's name and list the arguments for the script. Now, in both functions and scripts, there is such a thing as special parameters. The special parameters are what allow access to the arguments, either from within the script when you're talking about scripts, or from within a function when you're talking about functions. And they are both the same. The special parameters are the same for functions as they are for scripts. So right now I'm going to talk about those special parameters. $* expands to the positional parameters starting from 1. The word positional parameters is equivalent to the word arguments, which I used so far. So it expands to the arguments starting from argument number 1, the first argument. When the expansion occurs within double quotes, it expands to a single word with the value of each parameter separated by the first character of the IFS special variable. I'm not sure what the IF and the S stand for, but that's a variable that specifies what the separator characters or character is. Usually it's just a space, okay? And I checked on my Mac and it was a space, okay? So when the expansion occurs within double quotes, in other words, when you put double quotes around the $*, when you are expanding the expression, the $*, if you put double quotes around it, it basically comes out to one string. They call it one word, a single word. Okay? The $* is really, from what I understand, it's kind of deprecated. People use the $@. Okay? So let me just summarize. The $* basically gives you, if you put it in double quotes, it gives you a string which concatenates all the arguments for the script. And in this video, we're going to be talking about scripts, not functions, okay? But the same applies to functions, okay? So the $@ expands to the positional parameters starting from 1. When the expansion occurs within double quotes, each parameter expands to a separate word. Here, each parameter expands to a separate word, whereas here, the entire list of parameters expands to one word. See the difference between up here and down here? From here until here, it's the same as here. Expands to the positional parameters starting from 1 when the expansion occurs within double quotes. So these two so far are the same. Where it differs is right here. Here it expands to a single word. Here each parameter expands to a separate word. Okay, so it's how they are grouped. Okay, now the difference that this makes is when you use $@ to iterate through those words that what we are referring to as the words, which are the parameters. If you use a for loop, to iterate through those words, you are actually iterating through the arguments. This is something that you can't do with the $*. That's why the $@ is what is used today instead of the $*. It's more difficult to parse the $*. $pound expands to the number of positional parameters in decimal. The word expands means in place of the $pound, what will appear is the number of positional parameters. In other words, the $pound is evaluated to be the number of positional parameters. Okay, so that's the $pound. $? Expands to the exit status of the most recently executed foreground pipeline. Okay. $- expands to the current option flags as specified upon invocation. Okay, I'm not going to be dealing with that right now. $$ expands to the process ID of the shell. Okay, it's nice to know. $! expands to the ID of the most recently executed background asynchronous command. $0 expands to the name of the shell or shell script. So for a script, this expands to the name of the script. $_. The underscore variable is set at the shell startup and contains the absolute file name of the shell, or script being executed as passed in the argument list. Subsequently, it expands to the last argument to the previous command after expansion. It is also set to the full path name of each command executed and placed in the environment exported to that command. When checking mail, this parameter holds the name of the mail file. Okay, I don't think I'll be using this, and I don't want to worry about it. $* versus $@ which is what I talked about. The implementation of $* has always been a problem and realistically should have been replaced with the behavior of $@. In almost every case where coders use $* they mean $@. $* can cause bugs and even security holes in your software. The positional parameters are the words following the name of a shell script. Okay, when they say words, like a word is either one actual word or is two words that have quotation marks around them so that they are used by the shell as one argument or one thing. Okay, they call the thing a word. Okay, the positional parameters are the words following the name of the shell script. In other words, the arguments are the words following the name of the shell script. They are put into the variables $1, $2, $3, and so on. As long as needed, variables are added to an internal array. $, which is this right here, which is pretty important, holds the total number of parameters. In the next video, I'm going to actually show this stuff in action in actual scripts.